A watershed-based planning process for the lower Galena River was started in October of 2016. The planning process is intended to develop and establish consensus on the best way to manage our water resources going forward. This presentation will describe the planning process and some of the things that have been learned so far. We know, for example, we have stormwater management issues in our area. We know that we have water bodies in the county that have been designated as impaired by the Illinois Environmental Protection Agency because of the levels of various pollutants that affect the use of these water bodies. Impaired water bodies on this map are shown in red. The lower Galena River has been designated as impaired by fecal coliform, PCBs or polychlorinated biphenyls, sedimentation and siltation, total suspended solids, zinc, and bottom deposits. These issues affect the aesthetics of the river, aquatic life, fish consumption, and recreational use. When a water body has been designated as impaired, the Environmental Protection Agency sets pollutant load limits, total maximum daily loads, or TMDLs, that must be met to remove the designation. A draft TMDL report has been completed that includes the Galena River. This report contains recommended voluntary actions for reducing pollutants to meet the load limits. Each of the states draining into the Mississippi River have created nutrient loss reduction strategies to address the dead zone in the Gulf of Mexico. The ultimate goal is to reduce the amount of nitrogen and phosphorus lost to the river by 45%. Point sources like sewage treatment plants may see regulatory changes. Voluntary measures are encouraged for non-point nutrient sources in the landscape. The Galena River is located within the region bypassed by Ice Age glaciers known as the driftless area. This area generally has thin, fragile soils and steep slopes. As far as water resource management issues and solutions, we probably have more in common with others in the driftless area than we do with the rest of Illinois. Deep-rooted alfalfa finding moisture in Joe Davis County's karst aquifer during a drought created this snapshot of the fractured bedrock below our thin soils. The area bedrock and soil characteristics result in an increased interaction between surface and groundwater. The Joe Davis County Water Resource Management Plan was completed in 2016. To date, this plan has been supported by the County Board, 9 municipalities including the City of Galena, 5 townships, and Apple Canyon Lake Resort. The county plan laid out 3 broad and general goals, identified a menu of practices that might be useful for achieving these goals, and selected the lower Galena River sub-watershed as the first area of focus for more detailed watershed-based planning because of the number and type of impairments. A Galena River Planning Committee was formed and has gathered information at monthly meetings, with presentations from Illinois Environmental Protection Agency staff on the planning process and TMDLs, from committee members on research on the history of land use in the watershed and the history of changes to the Galena River, from Illinois Department of Natural Resource staff on the history of biological sampling in the river and fish populations, and from city staff on water resource management within the corporate limits. Going beyond the monthly meetings, the committee has kayaked the Galena River from Buck Hill Road to Ferry Landing to study river conditions, thanks to Deb Malone and Fever River Outfitters. They have organized and participated in a Galena River water sampling project that will provide information about the source of nitrates in the river, whether primarily chemical fertilizer or animal waste, and using caffeine as a tracer, whether or not there is a human component to the animal waste. This project was supported with funding from the City of Galena, East Dubuque Nitrogen Fertilizers, the Galena Lions Club, and the Grace Episcopal Environmental Committee. Special thanks to Charlie Marsden and Larry Prisky for sharing their boats and their knowledge of the river. The committee has studied available information on the Galena levee system and participated in the City and Army Corps of Engineers annual levee inspection. They've worked with Roger Reddington to bring Galena area farmers together to advise and participate in the watershed planning process. In November of 2017, the farmer-led group participated in a 2-day Watershed Leaders Network workshop in Dubuque. The farmer-led group has planned a series of 12 informational events for farmers. These events are supported by funding from a U.S. Fish and Wildlife Fishers and Farmers grant and East Dubuque Nitrogen Fertilizers. Committee member and resource conservationist Mike Malin created the Galena River Watershed Resource Inventory. This project was supported with funding from an Illinois Environmental Protection Agency Section 319 grant. The inventory is an invaluable reference for the planning process, as the following highlights show. The lower Galena subwatershed sits at the bottom of the entire Galena River watershed, which extends up into Wisconsin as the Fever River. Therefore, while we're focused on the land area within our own subwatershed, it's important to understand that the portion of the Galena River we're studying is receiving flow from the entire watershed area to the north. 6 local government units have jurisdiction within the lower Galena watershed: the county, the city, as well as Vinegar Hill, Rawlins, East Galena, and West Galena townships. The watershed is characterized by relatively steep slopes. The average slope for Illinois is 1.2%. Joe Davis County has the highest average slope of any county in Illinois at 11.4%, and the Galena River watershed's average slope is 16.7%. In terms of land use, 40% of the subwatershed is forested, shown here in green. 27% is grassland and pasture, shown in gold. 13% is cropped corn and soybeans, shown in brown, and 8% is developed, shown in pink and red. The lower Galena subwatershed can be further broken down into land areas that drain into the tributaries that feed the Galena River within this area, as shown here. This map can help us further focus management approaches based on the particular characteristics of each sub-area. This map shows the surface bedrock in the lower Galena subwatershed. Most of the area is underlain by the Galena-Platteville dolomite, shown in yellow. The higher elevations are underlain with Maquoketa shale, shown in blue, and the highest points, consisting of Silurian dolomite, are shown in magenta. The area's geology is an important consideration for effective water resource management. Soil limitations for septic drainage fields are represented in this map of the area. The red represents areas where the soils are very limited for septic. Very limited means the soil has one or more features that are unfavorable for the specified use. Yellow areas are somewhat limited. 462 septic systems have been identified in the subwatershed. 156 of these are located in East Galena Township, 105 in Rawlins Township, 69 in West Galena Township, 10 in Vinegar Hill Township, and 122 systems separate from these township numbers within the city of Galena corporate limits. The yellow area shown on this map represents highly erodible land. Erodibility calculations are based on the soil map, soil loss tolerance, and factors for water and wind erosion. The Galena River watershed-based planning process is scheduled to be completed by September of 2018. Regular monthly meetings will continue to be held as goals, objectives, and an action plan containing specific projects and timelines are developed. These meetings are open to the public, and active involvement in meeting conversations is encouraged. You can also follow the process through the website, which provides access to reference materials, agendas, and minutes. And please contact the project coordinator with questions or to share ideas and information. And thank you for your interest and participation in the Galena River watershed-based planning process.